Romans 6:16. Do you not know that if you continually surrender yourself to anyone to do his will, you are slaves of him whom you obey, whether that be to sin, which leads to death, or to obedience, which leads to righteousness? Okay. Do you not know that if you continually surrender yourself to anyone to do his will, you are slaves of him whom you obey? Okay. Let's say this, okay? If you're trying to surrender to God constantly every single day from your sin, you are a slave to sin. You are a slave to sin because you're admitting that sin reigns in you and that you're still trying to fight the fight and you're still trying to get close and right standing with God. And it says, you are slaves of him whom you obey, whether that be to sin, which leads to death, or to obedience, which leads to righteousness. When you get your sinful nature has been crucified, you have been brought into obedience and brought into righteousness, not based according to what you've done, because literally what Jesus did on the cross was brought you into right standing, period. So, any mindsets that are saying you got to do something or you have to hold up your own, literally you're trying to surrender yourself to a will, and it's a slave. You're a slave of a bond servant, dude, of the bond servant. But you are a free man according to a free woman. This is regards to Sarah and I want to say it's Hagar. Shoot. Yeah. So here's the deal. It says, but thank God, though you were once slaves of sin, you have become obedient with all your heart, not based upon what you do and what you're trying to do, to the standard of teaching which you were instructed and to which you were committed. And having been set free from sin, you have become the servants of righteousness. Wow, that's a little bit different. Set free from sin? You mean I don't have to worry about anything anymore? Well, Braden, what about, okay, well, if I've been set free from sin, then why do I still have a sinful nature? Or why do I still go out and sin? Well, this is my answer for that. You're buying into a lie that you're still a sinner and that you're still struggling. Because everything possible that leads to death, Jesus crucified on the cross, and you no longer struggle. I'll give you an example. You go out and you look at pornography, or you go out and somebody makes you, or there's an opportunity where you can get frustrated. Somebody slams their car into your car. Okay? And this, the enemy is going to lie to you and tell you that you're frustrated and that you should be pissed, or that you should have a lustful thought, or that you're lusting right now, or that that girl looks really good. When you choose to buy into those lies, sure, you fall into a sin. But here's the deal. Because you've been transferred over from a slave of sin to a slave of righteousness, you're not a slave to sin and your sinful nature anymore. It has been crucified on the cross, and there is no sin found in him. Therefore, if there's none found in him, then there's none found in you. Keep going on this. I'm speaking in familiar human terms because of your natural limitations. For as you yielded your bodily members as servants to impurity and ever-increasing lawlessness, in other words, you've constantly yielded your body over to like impurity, increasing lawlessness, like basically anything that is outside of just knowing that you're in obedience and righteousness, and anything that is striving or trying to be, or like a state of not being in right standing ever, or being cloaked in this grace all the time. then you're living in as a false teacher, to be honest, denying what Jesus took on the cross. But now yield your bodies. Don't try to yield your bodies. He's just reminding the body, dude, of who they are. Once as all as servants to righteousness. So make sure that when you read the Bible, you're reading it as God is telling you this is who you are, rather than this is what you should do or should be. Words are a very, very important thing. If you begin to speak and you say, we need to be going out and being evangelizing. Well, I tell you what, you're cloaked in the Spirit. You're constantly just flowing in Jesus, and He's manifesting all your evangelism. You could go to the coffee shop, and literally you don't have to be looking for anybody, but at that point, you're just sitting there, and you know you're sitting in the Spirit, and literally people are coming up to you, and God begins to speak to you about certain things, dude, and it just starts happening. It's not a try, it's a rest. It's not a do, it's a rest. For when you were slaves of sin, verse 20, you were free in regard to righteousness. Interesting. When you were slaves of sin, you were free in regard to righteousness. 1 Timothy 1:9 says, knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man. If you're looking at things according to the law, what is right and wrong, when you have that perspective of looking at things, what is right and wrong, you're looking at according to the flesh, and you are of the flesh. But as you, son, daughter, you no longer look at things according to the flesh, but according to the heavenlies, you, at that point, are cloaked with righteousness for the rest of your life, because that's how you look at things. Rather than beating yourself up when you screw up, which is also, if you're looking at yourself according to that, you're judging yourself according to the law, what is right and wrong. And didn't Jesus come to abolish and to fulfill the law, dude? Yes. Because literally he's saying that when you look at yourself like that, you're literally looking at yourself as death, and you will inherit death if you decide to look at yourself according to that. But here's the deal. There should be no discouragement in this. In fact, this should be encouraging, because who you are as a son and daughter of the King is obedient. You just literally already are, because He was the man of obedience who took all things for you, and now He's brought you into the light. You are a son and daughter of the King, and now you have inherited all things. You are not a sinner anymore. You don't struggle anymore. Any lies and things that saying you struggle is absolutely gone, and I just, Father, speak that you speak their identity over them, God, rather than if you're hearing a voice that's telling you what you should do and shouldn't do, and what's right and wrong, or I shouldn't do this, or I had anger, dang, I need to repent of that. Dude, here's the deal. That's not who you are. And when you allow God to tell you who you are, rather than what you're doing wrong, it completely starts to rock you. And so, just want to encourage you, just woke up, I'm just getting blasted, so I love you guys. Shabuki bookie bookie. Read it all. Read Romans 6 from like 16 down to 23. 1 Timothy 1:9, 2 Peter 2. Just go through it all, guys. Just start cross-referencing and let the Lord show you, because He will. I love you. Love you guys. Have a good one.